Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi everyone. So here we are going to present our database mini project titled Student Result Management System. There are 4 presenters in this mini project, which is myself, Syazwina binti Ahmed Wajar Ali, Irdina Farisya binti Muhammad Farid, Wan Mahirah binti Wan Mahirah, and Nurul Asyiqin binti Abdul Razak. Introduction to our system. Student Result Management System is used to create the centralized database that will manage information about the grades obtained by students in various semesters. This project is undertaken to provide results to the students in a simple way and make it more convenient for university management to access the whole information for every subject. So this is the ERD for our project, and the business rules are: a student can only be in one faculty, a faculty can have many students, a student can make one or many enrollments, an enrollment can be enrolled by one student, an enrollment can enroll the student in one or many courses, a course can be enrolled by a student with one or many enrollments. A student can have one or many classes, a class can have one or many students, a course can conduct one or many exams, an exam can be conducted by only one course, a course can generate one or many classes, a class can only be generated by one course, a lecturer can teach 0 or many classes, a class can be taught by only one lecturer, a course can have one or many assessments, an assessment can only be held by one course, an assessment can give one or many marks, a mark can only be obtained from one assessment, and a student in a class can have one or many marks. A mark can be given to only one student in a class. This is the data dictionary. The first table is faculty. The attribute is faculty ID, faculty name, faculty email, and faculty fax. Table lecturer contains lecturer ID, lecturer full name, lecturer birthday, lecturer gender, lecturer nationality, lecturer home address, lecturer email. The course table contains course code, course name, course credit, and course capacity. Student table contains matric number, student full name, student birthday, student gender, student nationality, student home address, student email, and faculty ID. The exam table contains exam ID, exam duration, exam time, exam date, course code. Enrollment table contains enrollment ID, matric number, enrolled semester, enrolled session, enrollment date, and enrollment status. Class table contains class ID, course code, lecturer ID, class session, and class capacity. Assessment table contains assessment ID, course code, assessment name, assessment percentage. Mark table contains mark ID, assessment ID, course code, class ID, matric number, and marks. Class list table contains matric number, class ID, and class name. And the last table is enroll list, contains enrollment ID, course code, and enroll time.
Assalamualaikum and good day. My name is Irdina and I will be presenting about tables with inserted data. For the first table is faculty table that consists of faculty ID, name, email, and fax. The examples for faculty ID are FTKEE, FKM, FTMK, and others. The next one is lecturer table, which have lecturer ID, full name, birth date, gender, nationality, address, and email. For course table, we have course code, name, credit, and capacity, which are 120 and 500 students for each course. Next, student table consists of matric number, student name, gender, nationality, address, email, status, and faculty number. Exam table have exam ID, duration, time, date, and course code. For enrollment table, we have enrollment ID, matric number, semester enrolled, date, and status. Then, for class table, we have class ID, course code, lecturer ID, class session, and capacity, which is 50 students for each class. Following that is the continued table of class. The next one is assessment table, which consists of assessment ID, course code, assessment name, and percentage. There are 5 assessments for each course, which are mini project, midterm tasks, assignments, laboratory tests, and final examination. This is the continued table for assessment. Next is mark table that have mark ID, assessment ID, course code, matric number, class ID, and marks of assessment for every student. For class list table, we have matric number, class ID, and class name. Class list table indicates the class for each student. The last one is enroll list table, which have enrollment ID, course code, and enrollment time. That is all from me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Wan Mahirah. I will be presenting for 5 queries regarding to selection and projection. So for the first question, it says list information of all lecturers. The SQL statement goes for select star from lecturer and the output as shown. For question 2, we created a query saying list the information of students who have marks less than 15. For the relational algebra, it goes by mark ID, assessment ID, course code, matric number, class ID, marks, and the row max mark less than 15 in group table mark. Okay, so here's the output for the students who has less than 15 marks. For question number 2, it says list the information of students who have marks between 20 and 29. Relational algebra goes pi, mark ID, assessment ID, course code, metric number, class ID, marks. The row max mark more than 20 and max mark less than 29 mark. For question number 4, the query says list the metric number of all students. Display each metric number only once. Relational algebra is pi metric number in group enrollment. For question 5, retrieve metric number, students' full name, students' gender, students' current status, and faculty of whose students' full name begins with A. Relational algebra is pi metric number, student full name, student gender, student current status, faculty ID. Ho, student full name like A in group student. And the output is shown above. For aggregation and grouping, the number 1 in the queries is sum up the total number of lecturers in the system. The SQL statement is only select count lecturer ID as lecturers, which means we only take the lecturer ID to display. The output is lecturers only has 5 in the system. For question 2, find the minimum mark of a student. The SQL statement is select min marks, which means we only have to see the minimum mark from the table mark. The output is the minimum mark is 10. For question 3, how many assessments have been conducted by the MEKH course? So SQL statement is select count assessment ID as total assessments from assessment table, where the course code is only MEKH and the output is the total assessments for MEKH course is 5. Question 4 is for each faculty with more than one student, display the number of students in each faculty who are single. And we have to select faculty ID, count metric number as total of students from student table, where student current status is single, grouped by faculty ID, and having count metric number as more than 1. The output is faculty per faculty we have 2 person who is single in the faculty. Okay, for the last one is question 5. Find the total number of lecturers who teach DEK course in the class. The SQL statement is select course code, count lecturer ID from class, where class ID like DEK grouped by course code. The output is only course code DEK, and there is only 2 lecturers who teach DEK course in the class.
Hi, I'm Asyiqin and I will present for join and nested and subqueries. Question 1, for inner and outer join, retrieve metric number, student name and student email of semester 3 students. We have to join the table between enrollment and student using equi-join. So this is the relational algebra and SQL statement, and this is the output. For question 2, find exam ID where course name is Diploma of Electrical Engineering. The relational algebra, and here is the SQL statement. And output for question 3, retrieve all students' names who get marks below 20 for the Master of the Mechatronic Engineering course. Using join using, we will join student, mark and course tables. This is the relational algebra and the SQL statement. And output, there is only one student. 4, find all the details of the students who were taught by a lecturer named Najwan, using student, class list, class and lecturer tables, and using join on. Here is the relational algebra and the SQL statement. And the output, one row. Question 5, list all engineering faculties with students and non-engineering students. And here is the relational algebra and the SQL statement. Then the output for question 1 to question 4, it is using inner join, and for question 5 using outer join. Continue from the previous slide. For nested and subqueries, question 1, list all students who have enrolled and got at least 1 mark. The relational algebra and SQL statement using intersect. The output in question 2 is all course codes whether they have been enrolled or not. This is the relational algebra and the SQL statement. And the output, question 3, which faculty listed in the system that have not been enrolled by any student. Relational algebra and the SQL statement. And the output is FKE, KK and FTK-MP. Question 4 is all course that conduct any examination on 24th of June 2020. The relational algebra and SQL statement. And the output is BTMI, DEK and DIT. And question 5, which enrollment ID belongs to female students? This is the relational algebra and the SQL statement. And the output is here. That's all from our group. Thank you.